Hello, welcome to English Buddhist Terminology. This week we're going to continue where we left off last time. And we're going to discuss the remaining 3 of the 6 paramitas and talk about their significance. Now last week we've already discussed the contents of the first 3 paramitas, the paramitas of generosity, the paramita of discipline, and the paramita of patience. And now let's start by looking at the 4th paramita, which is the paramita of diligence. We can say that diligence is a fundamental aspect of human endeavor, and it can also be described as the constant and steady application of effort on a task. Therefore, while we may say that diligence may not necessarily lead to success, without diligence, there will never be any success. We can never be sure of that. And the following saying also tells us the importance of diligence, where it says that though piles of gold may be washed in with the tide, still we must go forth and gather them. What it's trying to tell us is that nothing in this world comes for free, and effort is always required if we want to accomplish things. Therefore, diligence is required in the process of a goal being achieved. And any goal will require the effort of diligence in order to be achieved. Okay, the Chinese philosopher Shan said that in life, we're like swimmers in a river that is always flowing against our best interests. If we want to make progress, we must swim against the current, for if we don't, we will be carried downstream. And what he meant was that sometimes even just to stay in one place would take a lot of effort and diligence. The same goes to the Buddha. But the Buddha didn't just stay still and do nothing. Instead, he taught the Dharma, saw the problem of life, and figured out how to solve it, and then applied that solution, all of which will, of course, require diligence. And another example of diligence will be the Siddhigarbha Bodhisattva, who vowed to remain in hell until all sentient beings are liberated from it. And there's also Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva, who has vowed to go to any sentient being who is in need and who calls upon him. And therefore, with the great beings making such grand vows to benefit others, the least we should do is to vow to save ourselves with our own efforts. Once a man went to Chan Master Fo Yin and asked him, "Master, I see you with the rosary beads in your hands all the time. I know that you're chanting, so whose name are you chanting?" Chan Master Fo Yin answered, "I'm chanting Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva's name." And then the man continued, "Okay, I get that." And then he pointed to the statue of Guang Bodhisattva and asked once again, "Master, what about Guang Bodhisattva? He's also holding a bunch of rosary beads in his hand, so whose name is he chanting?" Chan Master Fo Yin answered, "He's also chanting Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva." "What is the point of chanting his own name?" Upon hearing this, Chan Master Fo Yin said, "That's because seeking help within oneself is much better than seeking help from other people. In Chinese, we know it as 求人不如求己. From this, you can see the importance of effort and our own diligence, which needs to be applied into a task or a goal which we have set for ourselves or set to us by our other people in life in order for us to achieve that goal. And even in the Sutra of Bequeathed Teachings, it tells us the importance of diligence. It says that if you practice diligence, no task will be too difficult for you. Just as a trickle of water can wear down stone, so by your diligence, you can succeed at anything. From this, we can see that we have been taught a lot by the Buddhist theories And a very important thing which the Buddhist teachings or theories want to tell us is the ways for us to transform the bad into the good. And in the process of our own spiritual cultivation, it would also involve conversion of bad character traits into beneficial or skillful ones, all of which, of course, require diligence. And now, so far, we've talked about the importance and the need for diligence. Let's look at the actual ways to which how we can practice diligence. The treatise on the Sutra of Committing the Bodhi Mind defines basic Buddhist practice as the following: starting goodness where there is none, increasing goodness where there is some, not starting evil where there is none, ending evil where there is some, which is a very famous in Chinese, 为生善令生起，以生善令增长，为生恶令不生，以生恶令断除. These are the very basic principles which we must follow in terms of being diligent. And let's go back to these 4 lines and look at them carefully. We will also see that each of these lines calls for the application of constant effort. We have to continue to make sure that there is something that is good, and we have to continue to make sure that the good persists. And then we have to continue to make sure that there is no evil. And at the same time, if there is evil, then we also need to continue our effort in making sure that the evil goes away. Therefore, we must understand that to understand the theory of effort is also to understand the most basic aspect of Buddhist teachings. And the way to do this is for us to apply the Dharma to life, because we live in this world right now and right here. Another example of diligence will be like starting a fire by rubbing 2 sticks together. And if we keep at it, we keep rubbing 2 sticks together, and then a fire will be made. But if you rub the sticks together after a little while and then you give up too soon, and then you end up getting nothing but a waste of effort and your energy. And nearly everything in life is like this. Everything we do will be like including the process of having to rub 2 sticks together. We have to keep at it in order to achieve our goals. However, there seems to be a very common problem among people today, nowadays, which is that a lot of people tend to be enthusiastic with new things, say for the first 5 minutes, or for a very short period. And when time goes on, and things become a routine, people lose interest and start to look for something else to inspire them, and they start to look for something else which makes them feel interested. And this is a problem which we must deal with. And we also need to realize that diligence is founded on knowing that deep inspiration must come from within. For when we draw our inner sources, there's nothing that can stop us or change our course too soon. Once there was a little parrot who lived in a forest. The forest was its home. However, one day, for some reason, one of the trees caught fire, and the whole forest started burning. The parrot started carrying small drops of water from the nearby pond. It would fly over to the pond, pick up a drop of water with its beak, and then fly back to the forest and then drop that water. He kept doing this for a long time. And then the other animals started finding it weird. They asked it, "Why aren't you running for your life? There's no point in doing what you're doing right now. Small drops of water which you collect with your beaks will never be enough to put away the fire." But the little bird said, "I cannot just leave my home because it's all I have. And if I keep at it, if I keep dropping water over the fire will one day, it's bound to go away. It's bound to be extinguished." And while the rest of the animal thought the bird had gone out of its mind, and they went ahead just running away for their own lives. The bird kept at it. And its diligence and its persistence touched the god of the forest, who called upon a huge storm of rain, which provided sufficient water to put out the fire. The moral of this story tells us that no matter what we're trying to do, no matter how hopeless the situation may seem, we must always believe that if we keep at it, if we keep trying, if we keep putting in our every single effort, we will be able to achieve our goal one day. And when we're determined to do something, powerful forces will also come to our aid. Therefore, from this we can see that diligence can unleash in us strengths that we never knew we had. Okay, now there are two ways for us to look at diligence. The first type of diligence is what we call mental diligence. And mental diligence involves the practice of being mindful about our thoughts and behavior for the purpose of eradicating our tendencies towards greed, anger, and ignorance. While physical diligence includes activities which require our body to perform mental diligence. For example, study, meditation, helping others, and maintaining our surroundings, and doing exercises, and so on. And in fact, diligence was exactly what made Sakyamuni Buddha attain enlightenment before Maitreya Bodhisattva. Because when he was a Bodhisattva, he was more diligent than Maitreya. The sutra in 42 sections tells us that there are 3 important stages in learning to be diligent. The first stage is what we call the protected stage. It is the period when we first learn how to be diligent. And determination alone may not be strong enough to withstand what we have to bear, but we must appraise ourselves honestly as we clearly assess the difficulties that lie before us. And once we understand that what will be required of us, then we must shield ourselves from those things that can cause us to fail. Let me give you an example. We know that drug is bad. So by attaining this knowledge, and by knowing that drug will do bad things to your body, the next action you take will be not to come in contact with drugs. So not take drugs. Another example will be when a new teacher becomes prepared to take on a class. He's aware that there will be students who may refuse to cooperate or obey his instructions. Then he will have to prepare himself mentally in dealing with such what we call bad students. And remember, if we're not prepared to shield ourselves from disappointment and temptation, they will too often lose heart and accomplish nothing in the end. Therefore, that's the first stage, the protected stage. And as for the second stage, we call it the stage of learning good methods. Now, after the first stage, in learning how to protect ourselves from the negative forces, the next thing we need to do is to see the methods in which we can succeed. So by going from a negative force, we need to switch to positive methods. Let's go back to the drug example again. Before we knew that drug is bad, so we don't take drugs. Okay, after saying no to drugs, in the second stage, we divert or pay our attention to something else which may help us succeed. So we could apply our energy to better things than taking drugs, such as studying, working better, or doing plenty of exercise, all of the things which can help build a healthier and stronger body. Or let's go back to the example with the teacher again. After the new teacher prepares for the worst, okay? He prevents himself from the worst from happening. And the next thing he would have to do is to begin to find methods that may produce better results. These are the actions that may be involved in the second stage, which is the stage of learning good methods.